Good morning. How are you? Well, it's warmer today and it's sunshiny, so that's nice. The Gulf Stream, however, is cooling. It runs up along the east coast and jumps across the pond to England, and it has a big effect on our weather. And people can't tell exactly what and how, but I think it's sort of like adjusting the temperature in your room. That's what the Gulf Stream does. But how has it been affected? It's been affected by the melting ice from Greenland, and it seems to be stalling the Gulf Stream, reducing its temperatures, slowing its movement. And that's going to have effect with, all the other weather that we're dealing with. That anybody thought we were going to get a get out of jail card on the environment was crazy. But we have enough of those politicians who believe just that. It's really not a big deal. Yesterday I posted a picture of the creek, and more alert observers than I who took the picture saw a face in the creek, and some decided it was angry. Well, maybe it was nature expressing a view in that tiny little creek for what's happening worldwide. In terms of upsettedness, I am baffled by how the House does investigations. I've participated in them, so I know it, but they were surprised years ago when I would actually talk to the witnesses before they came into the chambers for the hearing. And I get the sense that something like that's happening. There don't seem to be friendly witnesses who say what one proponent or the other wants, except insofar as nobody knows anything about what happened, what we'll do, but we'll do better the next time. That's really not good. Some heads should be rolling. I mean, if we're rolling heads on Capitol Hill, why aren't we doing it elsewhere? It's really hard to understand, but it's not happening. When the FBI director, shrugs his shoulders and he doesn't know what happened and nobody else knew what happened, it suggests there should have been more, down the line investigation. They need informants to tell them, okay, so who didn't pass what information on? And my only conclusion can be, and perhaps it is, as the further away from the hill you get, the more accepted it is that there were forces inside the government, just like there were in the Senate and the House, elected representatives who were favorable to the insurrection. And they were just fine with what was going on. That is the real horrendous story, and should be the topic sentence for the investigation on the Hill. Another thing that I think is distressing is the priority of legislation on the Hill. Yes, it should be about the pandemic, but I don't think the next stop should be political infrastructure or buildings across America. I think that the social infrastructure we should be concerned about is the George Floyd incident, in which an officer puts his knee to his neck, he says he can't breathe, and he dies, and the charge for which he was being held, not convicted of anything, was that a $20 bill passed at a local store was a counterfeit. How does a person know it's counterfeit if it's any good? And how do they impute to him the knowledge it was a counterfeit he passed? Did he admit it? I don't think so. But the larger question is that this trivial offense for which he was arrested, for which they could have given him an appearance, became his death. And there have been protests across America. And the problem with our nation has been from the beginning how we have not handled this question of equality, of a person whose mere difference is the color of their skin. I mean, the significant one that should affect how they're treated by law and by us as a society. So instead of talking about infrastructure, we should be looking at the bill, the Racial Injustice Act, that was introduced last May. And that should be the next piece of business on the Hill. We should go and address the issue that is really important, that really matters, and that is at the heart of America's problems from the Civil War to the 60s to today in these 3 iterations. And our nation will never be at peace until we deal with it. And at this time, when we're just coming from an insurrection that has, this is one of its component parts, because white supremacists are at the heart of both the Republican Party and of those forces that charge the Hill. So let's get smart and work on what's important. The pandemic, sure, but also racial justice. And then turn our attention to infrastructure. And if we can do more than one thing at a time, let's do it. And let's get some, local police work into who knew what when and who didn't act on purpose when the siege came to Capitol Hill. Okay, that's enough for today. I'll talk to you soon, tomorrow. Bye-bye.